Is it wrong, do you think, to put your pet down yourself? MP Rupert Lowe obviously doesn't think there's anything wrong with it because he recently revealed that he had his 17-year-old family pet Labrador shot after the dog's health deteriorated significantly and he lost the use of his back legs. Rupert said he wasn't brave enough to do it himself, but instead he asked his gamekeeper to do it. Well, we don't all have one of those just knocking about the family estate, do we? I wouldn't be able to find a gamekeeper for love nor money, but nevertheless, he asked his gamekeeper to do it so that the dog could die at home and didn't have to deal with vets because the dog would have been upset had he been taken to the vet. The Animal Welfare Act of 2006 protects animals from unnecessary harm, but there are enough grey areas in that act to allow for pet owners to take action as Rupert Lowe did. But I wonder what you think of that. It might be legal, but is it wrong? Or maybe you think if your animal's frightened of the vets, the very kindest way to say goodbye to a beloved family pet is to find a way to put the pet down at home. 0207 862 2222, that's the number. Do give me a ring. I'd like to know what you have to say about this. And if you've just had to put your pet down, you may want to just ring in and talk about that, because I know that the emotions involved, I mean, it's a primary enormous bereavement. You may be feeling incredibly sad just thinking about this now. 0207 862 2222, that's the number to have a chat with me. Cheryl, I mean, it's an extraordinary story, isn't it, having the Labrador shot through the back of the head by the gamekeeper?
Yeah, I live in Kent, and it's very much a farming community, and so it wouldn't surprise me at all if the farmers did the same thing with their... And I don't know if I disagree with it or not. I couldn't do it myself, and I do live in the middle of a farm, and I have had a dog that was exactly the same as the dog you mentioned,
yes,
where his back legs went, her back legs went, and she was having to drag herself along. But what I did, I made a compromise. So there's no way I could take her to the vet. She was terrified of the vet. The vet came to us and put the dog down, and she's buried in our garden.
Oh, God.
Along with her brother, actually.
Oh, God.
So, yeah, but it was so lovely because I gave her an injection and she went to sleep, and then they give the injection that stops the heart. So there was no pain, and I was there and comforting her. So I think that was like a compromise, if you like. No way I could do it myself.
Very, very good compromise, doesn't it? That she wasn't upset, and she didn't have her last moments in an environment that she didn't like. She was at home and comfortable. And oh my gosh, I didn't know what you were going to say when you said you compromise. I was thinking, what on earth would the compromise be? Let me ask Nick about this, because you say you've had quite a lot of experience, unfortunately, of this.
Well, I've had my last 3 dogs I've had to put down. But I think when you have a relationship with your dog, the dog almost tells you when it's ready, and you know you're going to have to do this, and you speak to the vet at the right time and make an arrangement.
Oh, here's a lovely picture of you. Which dog is that?
That's Manny. That was on Friday.
Oh, lovely.
So, you know, at some stage with a pet, hopefully, you know, he's going to go before you. So you're going to have to make arrangements, and all you're concerned with is to minimise the animal's suffering. Now, I know with him, I couldn't take him to the vet, so I would arrange for the vet to come round to the house. And I appreciate some people can't afford it. And therefore, there are charities. There are loads of charities out there who will do it for nothing. But you just don't want to do something that's going to make your dog suffer. And most people, as you say, don't have gamekeepers, they don't have guns, and you don't want to try and do something yourself at home, or I'm not even going to suggest what people do, because it's horrific.
If you did have a gamekeeper and you did have a gun and it was all legal, do you think that's the right thing? No, you don't get the sound.
I get why he would do it.
But why? Because I'd be left with a picture of my beautiful animal, brains blown out all over the place. I find it upsetting even thinking about it.
He thought he was minimising suffering, because my dog's like that, is scared to go, goes near the vet scared, terrified, and he just thought, dog's not going to see it coming. But yeah, I think it does open up the floodgates to a lot of abuse if you start... Oh,
here are you with your dog. Which dog is this?
My little dog, Monkey.
We need to get Monkey Manny together.
I know.
All right, let's go straight to Joanne. Joanne's on the line in Lancashire. What do you think about this, Joanne?
I think everybody should be allowed their own choice how they want to the pet to leave. I actually do agree with the
MP.
Yes, I do. My own experience of it, I had to have my horse put down. He was poorly. It was over Christmas. We'd had the vet out numerous times. And the decision came one day that we're going to have to let him go. So instead of getting the vet out again, we got somebody who's skilled in farming animals, and he came out and shot him for me. It was instant. There was no shaving of the leg. There was no putting the needle in. There was no waiting, when's he going to take his last breath. It happened, and that was it. It was done and dusted. He got taken away, and that was it. So, yes.
And Joanne, did that seem to you the most humane way of doing it, just in his own environment, in a familiar place, immediate, very, very quick, and just the best idea, the best thing to do?
Yes, 100%.
Right.
100%.
And Nick was just saying, why do we all think that Rupert Lowe told this story? Why did he talk about it? And I suspect it's because, like you, he just thought it was the kindest thing to do, the best thing to do.
Yeah, oh, definitely. Why take an animal possibly to somewhere where he's frightened anyway, in a vet, and then they have to shave the leg, then they put the needles in, then they put the fluid, whatever it is, in. Why does your animal have to put up with that, to suffer that final thing, when a gun or a bolt, it's immediate?
What
they don't know.
I mean, Nick, when Joanne explains it,
I understand what you're saying, Joanne, and obviously I thought about horses, and I understand that, and it's horses for courses, I suppose, isn't it, if you'll excuse the pun. All I can say is my own experiences have been really kind, the vets have been amazing, and it's been quite cathartic. It's actually been, a really good experience for both of us. There's been no pain, no anxiety. But I know with Manny, I wouldn't. If I go anywhere near the vets, you start shaking. So, I've already worked out, that's not going to happen for him.
Right. Let's go to Chris in Leeds. Hello, Chris. What do you think?
Good afternoon. Yes, we had our dog put down about 18 months ago. Yes. So the gamekeeper, I can understand that on a level with the bigger animals and where he's coming from. But for our pet, I'd be scared that would be open to abuse by somebody thinking they were going to save money and do it their way if they had access to a gun or whatever method. But when our dog was put down, everything had kind of given up, and the vet was due at 3:00 in the afternoon, and we spent the morning with the dog, and it was lovely, lovely, lovely. He was a lurcher, so if anybody knows lurchers, they're quite fragile. If you brush off them or whatever, they'll yelp. And I was pleasantly surprised. The vet came with his assistant. And even he shaved his leg, and the dog never ever, he just looked into the vet's eyes, happy, content, and inserted the needle, and there wasn't one yelp from the dog, which kind of shocked me, knowing the dog I'd known for 12 years. But it was such a peaceful ending, and so it was very, very positive for us, and we loved him dearly, and it's the way we would have wanted him to go.
Oh, well, I'm very glad and relieved for you that that's how it was. And thank you so much for describing it. Very emotional to have to describe it, isn't it? Because it's such an enormous loss every time. Thank you, Chris, very much indeed. Let's go to Maggie in Suffolk. Maggie, you think it's risky. You don't like the idea of the risk of it.
No, I think that, it's people don't know what they're doing. Just not everyone's going to have access to a gun. And personally, I think that's not a really good thing to do anyway. When you have your dog or your cat put to sleep at the vets, and I've had 2 cats put to sleep recently, a 21-year-old 3 weeks ago and his brother in December.
Oh, yeah. How are you feeling, Maggie? How are you feeling after 21
obviously,
years?
Yeah, it's a real big loss. It is a loss, but I know that he's with Jasper again, and I know that I gave him as best life as I could, and loved him to bits, and he's a big loss here. But he died, both of them died so quickly, in my arms, gently, in my arms, in the vets, wrapped up in their little blankets, and I was the last person they saw, and there was no pain. I had many pets, and I've had to, obviously you have to have lots of them put to sleep in the end. And that you cannot compare that with shooting. How can you stand and hold your pet while somebody shoots it? It's not possible. And I just don't think it's safe, and I don't think it's right.
Well, thank you very much indeed. And Sarah Jane, it's an incredibly emotional moment for everyone anyway.
It's quite triggering, really. My dog's 8 years old, and so it's really upsetting just hearing people's stories. But I can understand most viewpoints, to be honest. I can understand why you would want to do something that's sudden. And then I can also, you know, it's great to hear these stories about how humane and how peaceful the endings have been as well. Yeah. I just think if the conversation became quite mainstream about putting down your own pets, that would worry me. You know, opening up for abuse and people would have their own creative ideas about what they're doing. And that's the worry for me. Yeah. I think probably the vets is best if you can get them to you or you can get them to the vet.
I never even thought until we asked, the researcher asked the question yesterday, I never even thought for a second that people would euthanize their own animals.
I didn't even know it would be legal.
But how would you do it? How would you know what to do?
Exactly. Don't give anyone any ideas, quite frankly.
That's why I think that...
I mean, I think it's the sort of thing that most people, unless they were in a rural community or unless they were deep in the countryside where they're familiar with guns and they've got a legal right to have one and somebody who knows how to shoot them and everything else, wouldn't even consider, would they? I hope not, anyway.
I think the important thing is to say for your listeners that there are lots of charities who will come round and pay for it.
Yeah, because I didn't know that.
If anyone's watching this and thinking, oh, I'm going to do it myself to save money, you don't need to.
No.